Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here today with another compatibility secrets video, and today we're talking about the Uranian relationship. So I have made a video on the Plutonic relationship and the Neptunian relationship, which I'll probably provide a link to that in the description box below. So you can kind of check that one out as well if you're interested, because they're both quite as interesting as the Uranian relationship. So first of all, you're gonna have to figure out if you are in a Uranian relationship or not. And you can figure this out by looking at your natal chart, the synastry between you and your partner, and the composite and Davidson relationship chart between you and your partner. They're both gonna show the similar themes in your relationship with your partner. So if you have the sun aspecting Uranus in a hard aspect, okay, so in a conjunction, in a square, or in an opposition to Uranus in your natal chart, in the synastry, in the composite, then that will be one indicator. So if you have, Sun and Uranus aspects is going to kind of indicate that the identity of you or of the relationship is being identified by change and growth and progressiveness. That is how you, if it's in your natal chart, gain sense of self-esteem and self-confidence, is by being ahead of your time, is by not being bound to society's conditioning. And also if it's in a composite chart, in a relationship, then Sun Uranus is an identity that can't be bound to conditioning of any kind, and it is on a journey to search for its own unique individual expression. And you can also check to see if you have Moon aspecting Uranus in a hard aspect, like a conjunction, an opposition, a square, or an in conjunction in the natal chart, synastry, and the composite. So Moon Uranus aspects are going to indicate that either the relationship or you finds a sense of security and comfort through change. Insecurity can kind of bring security. The unknown brings security. Unpredictability brings some kind of security, because that really allows freedom of expression. Freedom of expression is going to be a very important theme in the creation of inner security when it comes to Moon Uranus. This also indicates, the need for emotional growth, not being stagnant in the way that you have your routines. You can also check to see if you have Venus-Uranus contacts in the natal chart, synastry, and composite. So Venus squares Uranus, opposite Uranus, conjunct Uranus, or even in conjunct Uranus. Yes. This is going to indicate that a love nature that requires a bit of a risk, a bit of an unpredictability, but ultimately space, freedom, and the need to be able to define love and relationships based on one's own terms rather than by what the society terms as love or relationship. And if this kind of appears in the composite chart, could indicate a lot of excitement in the love of the relationship, but also love nature that is allowing of freedom. And of course, sometimes it doesn't necessarily last for long, because there's an element of unpredictability, no routines, and uncertainty. Mars and Uranus, if you have that aspect in your natal chart, synastry, in the composite, in a square, in an opposition, conjunction, or even an in conjunction, that is going to indicate either the relationship, or if it's in the natal chart, it's going to create an energy in which you take action based on not conforming. You take action based on sometimes rebelliousness, because you don't want to be like anybody else. Your ego gets boosted when you are different, unique, and going against the norm. If it's in a composite chart, this can show like unstable energy going on within a relationship, because the two people might have a different reaction to things, and therefore they need to allow each other to react to things in whichever way they want to react. Oh, and the other thing you might want to look for is Uranus in the 7th house, or conjunct the descendant, or Uranus in the 1st house conjunct the ascendant. This can make you be more prone, in your natal chart, this can make you be more prone to being in Uranian relationships, because, well, if it's in the 7th house, you're going to attract that to you, because that's how you approach relationships. And if it's in the 1st house, these are themes that you identify with, so then you need to be with someone who's going to support that kind of Uranian identity. Aquarius placements or 11th house placement might not push you into the direction of really having Uranian relationships, but it can, it kind of depends. So you're looking for a series of aspects to show you this, not just one thing. So like if you have, let's say in your natal chart, you have Uranus conjunct your ascendant, and then you've got Sun square Uranus, and then in the synastry, you and your partner, let's say you have Venus opposite Uranus, and then in the composite chart, let's say you have Uranus in the 1st house and Uranus squares your Sun. So that's going to give it a Uranian theme to the relationship. Now, the difference between like a platonic relationship, Neptunian, and then the Uranian relationship is that soft aspects when it comes to Uranus doesn't necessarily create as much trouble or difficulties as soft aspects from Pluto and Neptune to the personal planets can create. So soft aspects between Uranus and other planets are okay. Like they would not be difficult, and they would flow pretty much smoothly. So we're just looking for mainly for hard aspects between Uranus and planets. So I don't actually have a pop culture reference to this, because there's actually a YouTube channel that really, where there's a couple on this channel, and they kind of have a Uranian relationship, in my opinion. This channel is called Connor and Brittany, and I'll provide a link in the description box below to their channel and some of their videos. They talk a lot about open relationships, because the two of them are in open relationships, and they really explain Uranian relationships really well without actually telling us that they're in a Uranian relationships, but they are, in terms of astrology. So what happens in a Uranian relationship is that, when the two people first get together, there's going to be extreme excitement, okay? Because there's something different. And yeah, there's something different about the two people. What's different will depend on the planets. And therefore, these differences are making them very attracted to each other and very excited by their interaction. There can literally be like nervous energy within the body because of, the excitement that you're going to talk to this person, and you feel like you don't know what they're going to say, you don't know what's going to happen next in the relationship, you don't know what you're going to do, you don't know what might just drop into your relationship anytime. That's why it's so exciting. And so most people are drawn to this kind of relationship because of the excitement factor, the fascination factor. But of course, what then tends to happen next? Once that unpredictability or that unknown factor kind of dissipates, the excitement is going to kind of wear off, right? Naturally. That's what's going to happen. And when the excitement kind of wears off, when the relationship starts to take on more practical aspects, when you're not just dating and having a good time anymore, when you're actually deciding, oh, let's be committed to each other, let's be in a long-term relationship, that's when the the more difficult Uranian themes kind of kick in. But, I feel that Uranian themes are much easier to deal with than Plutonic themes of relationships or Neptunian theme relationships, because what this relationship is really requiring the two people to do is that if they want to make it a long-term relationship, they have to approach it with an open mind and without much expectation. And this can be more workable if, there are more Saturn linkages in the relationship to kind of offset the Uranian aspect of the relationship. If it's just Uranus, full on lots of Uranus, watch out for that one, because it might not be a long-term thing. But most of the time, you're going to see some Saturn themes. That's why the two people can actually keep things going. And then there's some Uranian elements to the relationship. Uranus is this planet of, all the outer planets in astrology, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, even Saturn, is really about honesty and truth. And Uranus, more than any of the other outer planets, is really about truth. But Uranus wants you to be honest, wants you to be truthful about what you need in a relationship. And, if you already have some Uranus in your natal chart and you're in this Uranian relationship, the relationship is asking you to look back at your natal chart and see which aspects of yourself you need individuality in. Okay? Is it Mars? So it's the way that you take action, whether you pursue things in life. Is it in the 7th house? The flavor of a relationship in general. Is it like the moon, your way of gaining security? Like, what is it about yourself that you really need individuality in? So the relationship is really asking the two people to be honest with that. And a lot of the times, when you are being honest, the individuality that you need in a relationship, Uranus is asking you to stop thinking about the society's definition of what you need, but to really consider what you need at your highest self. And that's when things can kind of break down during a Uranian relationship, because it can be that one person is in touch with their individuality, the other person is more concerned with societal expectations. And when or sometimes both of them are resisting the discovery of their individuality and want to remain within societal expectations of a relationship, which has to do with getting married at a certain time, dating in a certain way, certain living circumstances, sleeping in the same bedroom, having kids at a certain time, raising them in a certain way. If the two people or one person is still having that kind of a mindset, then the relationship would not necessarily continue. Because if one person is still in that mindset, the other person is not, the person who is not and is discovering their own individuality is going to feel limited by the other person. And the other person is going to feel like that person who has discovered their individuality is not committing, or is being weird, is too unconventional, is disturbing in some ways. If the two people are still bounded by society's expectations and things like that, in that mindset, then the both of them are going to feel like this relationship is unstable. I don't know what to expect in it. I don't have stability in the relationship. It's threatening to my security. It's disturbing in some ways. And then they can both part ways. So that can kind of happen. But if the two people are in touch with their individuality, then they can remain together in this kind of a Uranian relationship. And okay, what do we really mean when we say that, you're in touch with your individuality when it comes to Uranus? So if you think, Uranus is actually, the higher octave of Mercury, right? Like, Pluto is a higher octave of Mars, and Neptune is a higher octave of Venus. So Mercury is about opinions and the way you communicate, the way you think. So Uranus is really more about your beliefs, but it's not about like Jupiter kind of beliefs system. It's not a belief system. It's your own individual belief, ideologies about life and the world, and your worldview. That is what the higher octave of Mercury or Uranus is really about. So when a person is really in touch with their own individuality, there is a perception, a certain perception that the person has about the world. Something like but it's something that is based on themselves, based on their true definition of freedom. Freedom and liberty, what their definition of that is, and how that becomes their ideologies about the world. So, it can be, for example, the belief that the universe is co-creating with you, something like that. But, it's been formed because of maybe some personal experiences or from some insight or knowing, very 11th housey, from some insight or knowing or awakening that the person has, and that becomes their perception of the world and who they are, and then that becomes the Uranian individuality, and they insert that into the relationship. So therefore they need a relationship that can reflect that kind of individuality. Okay, so like I said, if it's a sun, it's an individuality about the identity. If it's the moon, it's about security. Venus about love, relationships, values. Mars about the way that you take action. So whatever that form of individuality is, if it is accepted and appreciated by a lover, there can be this really enlightening kind of a relationship that can happen with a mature Uranian relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to break down or cause a breakup or separation like a lot of people would say that Uranus does in a relationship. No. But of course, with hard Uranus aspects, it's going to require you to step out of your comfort zone. And, it's going to be more challenging, causing a lot more tension in your life in order to reach that state of an enlightened Uranian relationship. But when you do reach that stage, we see that the two people are very solid in their individuality, that, that the love can exist because of that meeting of the higher mind, shall we say, or that meeting of their individuality, that they respect each other for and they love each other because of that. And so there is a solid love that can exist in the relationship, even though the things that they do, the actions they take, the people they meet are fluctuating. The person they want to be are fluctuating. They can still love and remain solid to each other. So they allow each other to do whatever the hell they want in life. Of course, the more Uranus aspects, the more extreme is going to be this openness. Less Uranus aspect, the lesser this kind of openness and allowance. So it can be anything from just you allowing your partner to study anything they want to study, travel alone, have different kinds of friends, to something like living in separate houses, sleeping in separate bedrooms, to really, allowing your partner to have intimacy with other people and an actual open sexual relationship. There's a scale, right, of how Uranian you can be. And so, that depends on what's going on in the chart. But there's the underlying fundamental principle of individuality, like I mentioned before, that is in the relationship. And so therefore, each partner has the freedom to do whatever the hell they want within their terms that they make together, in the terms that they make together. And then they still have a nice, secure, safe place that they can come back to at the end of the day. A person who will always be there for them, a person who will always love them. And therefore the relationship, and therefore, each individual person is able to just grow and be anything that they want to be without so much limitations, or, depending on how the negotiation that goes on in the relationship. And if you really think about the nature of what a relationship is supposed to do, right, the more cosmic, shall we say, astrological, philosophy of what a relationship is, relationships are really there to help you grow. They're really there to help you to be a better person, to, be a better person while still having someone there to support you. So if you really think about, that philosophy of a relationship, wouldn't you think that Uranus is the most, or one of the most important kind of planet for a long-term committed relationship then, you know, if you approach from that perspective. You know, that's just what I think. But of course, you know, we are human beings in this 3D world, so we need a bit of Saturn to make things practical, and we need a bit of like Pluto to like give it some drama, right? But like, yeah. So that's my take on the Uranian relationship. If you are in one of these, then comment below and let us know, you know, what your experiences have been being in a Uranian relationship. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below to come along with us on more astrology growth journeys, learning, growing together, and having better relationships with the people around us. If you've already subscribed, then thank you very much for still coming along on these astrology videos. And I'll see you very soon, guys. Bye!